let's look at this function. F of x equals 3x cubed plus 4x squared minus 15x. You should find the coordinates of all relative extrema. That means you're going to find the coordinates of the minimum and maximum points. You should find the coordinates of the point of inflection and sketch the curve. Alright. So let's go. The coordinates of all relative extrema. So remember, you should, so that's for the first part. Remember that this curve is going to have one of these shapes because it's a cubic curve. It's possible for a cubic curve to cut the x-axis up to 3 times. Alright? Here, here, and here. Now, here, the extrema, the maximum point. We have a maximum point here and a minimum point here. Or it could be maximum point here and minimum point here. So you have 2 points, maximum and a minimum on it. So when you differentiate this, you will find the gradient function. It will give you the gradient of the point of any point on the curve, and when it's 0, it's a maximum or a minimum point. So let's differentiate this. F prime x equals, this will be 3 by 3, 9x squared plus 2 4s 8 x minus 15. Alright, that will be that. Minus 15. So that's the derivative, the gradient function. To find those points, you equate this to 0 and then solve the equation after we equate it to 0. So what we have is 9x squared plus 8x minus 15 equals 0. Alright, let's use the quadratic formula to solve this. So x equals negative b, that's negative 8 plus or minus the square root of b squared, that's 8 squared minus 4 times a is 9, times c, which is 15, negative 15, all over 2a, 2 by 9. Alright, 2 nines is 18, so this will be 18. That's 18, 8 squared, 8, 8, 64. So this will amount to 64. I'm erasing and then doing it here because we don't have a lot of space to show all the working at different points. This will be minus negative. So that will amount to 4 by 9 by 15, and it will be a negative. So 4 by 9 by 15 is going to be 540. So it's a minus negative 540, which become a plus 540. So this will become 540. But we have 64 plus 540. Alright, so x equals then negative 8 plus or minus the square root of 54 plus 540. 4 and 0, 4, 6 and 4, 10, bring down the 0, carry 1, 5 and 1, 6. Square root of 604 over 18. So what you have will be 2 values of x. So let's write this now. X equals, what are the values of x? You have negative 8 plus the square root of 604, that gives you that, over 18, 0.921, so x is 0.921, and x is also going to be -8 minus the square root of 604 equals, divided by 18 will give you call it negative 1.81. Negative 1.81. Alright. Now those are the values at x. We're asked to show the coordinates, so we have to find out what y is. Alright? So when x is 0.921, well, I said y, what is really f of x that they give us. We're going to find out what f of x is. It's 3x cubed, so it's going to be 3 times 0.921 cube. Then we have plus 4x squared minus 15x, so it is plus 4 times 0.921 squared minus 15 times 0.921. Alright, so let's go with this one then. We have 3 times, this doesn't have the power. Let me put it in advanced mode to get the raised to the power of. So we have 3 times 0.921 raised to the power of 3 equal that, alright, plus 4 times 0.921. There's no square here, so I have to just use raised to the power of 2, and I get that minus 15 times 0.921 equal negative 8.0, call it negative 8.08, negative 8.08, which is negative 8.08. So we have 0.921 negative 8.08. So let's write that down. 0.921 negative 8.08. So we have 0.921 negative 8.08 as one coordinate, one pair of coordinates. And then what happened when x equals negative 1.81? And f of x equals 3 times negative 1.81 cubed plus 4 times negative 1.81 squared minus 15 times negative 1.81. So f of negative 1.81, f of x is, let's go back to our calculator. This is going to be negative, this is really a negative, right? So 1.81 raised to the 3 equal is going to be 5.92 9741. We know that this is a negative and we have 3 of them, so this will eventually become negative, right? Times 3 equal that, right? Plus 4 times 1.81 squared to the power of 2 equal, and we know it's going to be positive because you have negative squared become positive, minus 15 times negative 1.81. This will become a plus. 15 times 1.81 equals, and we have 22.4, call it 22.47, 22.47. So the other coordinate would be negative 1.81. So we have negative 1.81. What's the f of x coordinate now? 22.47. 22.47. So here we have that. So the coordinates of the relative extrema. What about the coordinate of the point of inflection? What we do here is this. We have the first derivative. What we need to do to find the point of inflection is to find the second derivative and equate it to 0, right? So let's just erase some of the workings that we have here. Don't want to stray too far down away from what we're working with up top there, so let us erase some of what we have here. So now we have the first derivative. Part 2, we're coming to the coordinate of the point of inflection. F prime x is this. So f double prime x then is 2 9s 18x plus 8. That is the second derivative. Now when 18x plus 8 equals 0, what we have is 18x equal negative 8. So x is negative 8 over 18, which would be, this is same as negative 4. 2 into 8 goes 4, 2 into 18, 9. Negative 4 9, which is what? Let's make it this in decimal form. 4 over 9 is 0.444, and it's negative. So it's negative 0.444. So x is negative 0.444. When x is negative 0.444, what is f of x? Let's see. F of negative 0.444 give you, is going to be 3 times negative 0.444 cubed plus 4 times negative 0.444 squared minus 15 times negative 0.444. So let's continue here. So this is equal to, let's use our calculator now. Let's go in basic mode and just use that. So we have 0.444 cube. That means we have it 3 times itself. In basic mode I don't have the raised to the power of, only the x squared. So I just do this. This is 0.444 cube times 3 equal, and I know it's going to be a negative, so let me put the negative here. Alright, we have that for this part. Now 0.444 squared, this is negative, it's going to be positive when you square it. So it's plus 4 times 0.444 squared. Alright, that's what we have here. Minus negative is going to be plus. Plus 15 times 0.444 equals, I have 7.19. So 7.19. So that's f of x. So the coordinates of the point of inflection is x is negative 0.444. So this is negative 0.444 comma, and then 7.19. Alright, so there we have that. Then it says sketch the curve. Oh, guess what? In order to sketch the curve, we need to know whether this is a minimum or maximum value, whether this is a minimum or maximum value. So what we'd have to do is to find the second derivative, put in the x value here in the second derivative, and see if this is a positive or a negative. We already found the second derivative here. Alright? Now, what we have, let's do it here. What is f double prime of 0.921? Is it going to be a positive or a negative? If we put 0.921 into this, we'll get a positive. You don't even have to calculate it. It will be positive. So, in this case, being that is positive, remember the gradient will keep rising, so it will be a minimum point here. And then, if you put negative 1.81 into this, we'll have a negative 18 times 1.81. It will be a negative more than 18 plus 8. So it's going to be a negative value. So it's a maximum point here. Alright. So to sketch the curve now, let's sketch the curve. We have to erase some of what we have here. So remember now, when you find the second derivative and put in a value of the value of x from the first derivative, the coordinates, the value of x here. Remember what we did was to find the first derivative, equate it to 0 to find the points, the turning points or the stationary points. When we put the value of x into the second derivative, if it is a positive, it's a minimum point. If it's a negative, it's a maximum point. So we can look at the curve now. If we say this is our x and y and x axes, what we would have is this. there's a minimum point at 0.921 negative 8.08. Alright. What we could do, let's open another page and put the graph there. So on this page we have our x-axis. Let me make the x-axis a bit thinner. We have our x-axis. Let's put it further up. Our x-axis, and this is our y-axis. Alright, good. Now let's erase what we had here before. We're not using this. Here now, we have turning points at 0.921 negative 8.08. So 0.921 negative 8.08, somewhere here. So this is negative 8. Let me make the line thicker. Negative 8.08, 0.921. Alright, we have a turning point here. And negative 1.8122. Call it negative 1.8 and 22. Negative 1.8 and 22. Negative 1.822. It's a bit easier for me to remember. Oh, so this is what they're going to be. This is what it's going to look like. With the one on the right, the 0.921 for x is a minimum point. So it's a minimum point here. And then here now is going to be the maximum point. Alright? That's the maximum point. Alright. Now we need something else here. The point of inflection is at negative 0.444, 7.12. Negative 0.4 and 7, about there. Negative 0.47. Alright, the point of inflection is somewhere about here. Let's move the negative 0.8 further up. Negative 0.8, something further up. This is 22, so we want to move it further up as well. Alright, good. Let's put the 22 somewhere up here. So the next point is here. It's a maximum point. Alright. Now, the point of inflection would end up somewhere about here then. Now, to sketch the curve, we need to know where it cuts the x and the y axis. Now, when f of x is 0, remember the x and when f of x is 0, we're talking about the y-axis. Where does it cut the y-axis? F of x is 0 on the y-axis. Then 3x cubed plus 4x squared minus 15x would be 0. Alright, let's factorize this. X outside the bracket, we have 3x squared plus 4x minus 15 equals 0. So, since we have these things multiply and the answer is 0, then what we can say is that in one case x would be 0. X is 0. The other thing is 3x squared plus 4x minus 15 can be 0 as well. When this is so, what are the values of x? we're going to have to solve this. X equal negative b, that's negative 4, plus or minus the square root of b squared. 4 squared is 16, minus 4 times 3 is 12, times negative 15, all over 2 by 3, using the quadratic formula. So it's negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 plus, what is 12 by 15? Is it 180? 12 by 15 is, right, 180. So 16 plus 180. What? 16 plus 180. It would be 180, 190, 196. So under the square root sign, you're going to have 196. So just write it from now. 196. 196 over 236. So x would be equal to, let's use a calculator now, it's going to be negative 4 plus square root of 196 equals that, over 6 equal 1.667. So 1.667, and x equals, what are the other values of x? X equals negative 4 minus the square root of 196 equals that, over 6, give you negative 3. Negative 3. So the x-axis is cut at 0, 1.6, call it 0, 1.7 and negative 3, 0, 1.7, negative 3, 0, 1.7, negative 3. Alright, where does it cut the y-axis now? So we can see the pattern that is going to occur here. It will look somewhat like this. Oh, it cuts the y-axis at 0. You can see here too. If you make x 0, if you make x equals 0, this will be a 0 plus 4 times. So you have 3 times 0 cubed is 0, plus 4 times 0 squared is 0, minus 15 times 0 is 0. So that part is clear. So the graph would look somewhat like this. Well, roughly. My graph isn't so wonderful at all. But you get the idea though. It isn't so clean and neat. It's down here. Well, it gives you an idea. Now, let's put this thing to the test. Suppose we put the function in our graph plotter. What would happen? So let's open GeoGebra. We have 3x cubed plus 4x squared. Alright. 3x to the power of 3 plus 4x to the power of 2 minus 15x minus 15x, and I want to see the grid, minus 15x. Alright, okay, good. Now let's look at this curve and open back our graph. Now the calculator, the graph. I want to open our graph. Alright, let's compare. Right here, you have the curve passes through the origin. Let's see what else is happening here. There is a maximum point at I said it was 22 point something. Alright, a little above 22, and x is negative 1.8. So it's at, let's zoom out a bit, and negative 1.8. Right, so we can see here, yeah, we can see here it's just about that at negative 1.8, and then there's a minimum point at 0.921, negative 0.8. 0.921, the minimum point. This is the one line, so it should be close to 1. All right, so right here is at 1 and it's close to 1. 0.921, good. And it goes down to negative 0.8. If it's negative 0.8, let's look back at at negative, was it 0.8? It was negative, right, negative 1.8. I should have written negative 1.8, not negative 0.8. Oh, the y value I should look at. The high y value was 22 point something. The low one was negative 8.08. Negative 8.08. So this here, where the graph went down here, is negative 8.08. Let's check it out on our graph. We see. So this line here is the 8.1 line, so this is close to negative 8.08. So we do have a proper graph. It follows what we see when we plot it with a computer program. All right. So this is our graph here that we have sketched here. Good. All right. So I want you to write down on a piece of paper f of x equals 3x cubed plus 4x squared minus 15x, as well as these things to do, and do it again without looking back at the work here, without looking back at the video. So write it down on a piece of paper, turn off your device, do it, and then come back just for practice. All right, I will see you in the next video.